to save this. We got some really good information today. I think we will just, I'll talk to you in a minute, then we'll officially start. We're going to be posting this on the Mount Vernon Strategic Housing Program website, as well as the Zanola Company website. We're just real excited about this program today, and there's lots of information that's new and different than you've seen from us before that we've been able to utilize in a number of studies this year, and felt like we wanted to pull it together and show it to you in a two-part series. And this is part one. So with that in mind, we're going to officially start this webcast, What is the New Happiness?, where we're going to help you learn what homebuyers really want. This webcast is brought to you by the City of Mount Vernon, Illinois, the Strategic Housing Program that Zanola Company is very, very happy to be a part of helping Mount Vernon grow with great new home building. The webcast today will feature a lot of information about big picture demographics, about what surveys that we've been utilizing, sharing that information with you, and then some specifics about the City of Mount Vernon. Hopefully you have received one or both of these invitations from us, one from the City of Mount Vernon itself with its Strategic Housing Program, and we invite you to make sure you are signed up for the blogs, the email blast, all the things that we're doing to help the City of Mount Vernon, Illinois promote the opportunities for home building in its community. And we're also hopeful that you get to enjoy the great blogging and webinar and web activity that we are doing here at Zanola Company. So hopefully you've seen both of those invitations, and that's why you're here. Another mention, if you'll hear me saying quite a bit today about the City of Mount Vernon's building program, and want to make sure that you have a chance to learn more about what we're talking about there at this website address at the bottom of your screen, buildmountvernonill.com. buildmountvernoillinois.com. Make sure you take a look at that. Really got some great information there. Our program today, What is the New Happiness?, kind of came from some ideas and observations and extensive studies that we've done in so many states over the last 2 years, so many locations. And some that really came to mind that we had the ability to really do some just very deep types of research and make recommendations and help set up different types of programs for success are specifically these locations we have on the map. We want to thank everyone for their support for Zanola Company in the last year, allowing us to do this research. It's been a very wonderful year in terms of really seeing new directions that we feel like residential development and home building are going. And so we put a few of the locations on here. St. Louis, want to make sure you know where Mount Vernon is, and so the sponsor of this, Winston-Salem, Knoxville, Jacksonville, Tuscaloosa, and Austin. Those are the communities that we, I think, did the deepest, most extensive studies and projects in the last year or two. Many other projects, and but these are the ones I think that really got us to leading up to this program. The first couple of slides I'm going to show you are just one slice of demographics from the total U.S. population perspective that I think within the context of our all reflecting on all the craziness that happened in the last decade, just the surging, booming housing market, and then the just devastation that anyone that was in that experienced in one form or another. That really led to kind of an industry that had been operating pretty well, got overheated, and then just really stalled out. And probably in 2012-13, we began to see the residential development, new home building world come back to life again. but certainly in a different way. And while we've reflected on what we call the kind of the pause button of life that many of us had our fingers on over the last 5 or 6 years, trying to decide what to do next, we, as well as the environment that we lived in terms of new home communities, new home building, things changed. And we are now, I think, really in the process of having the perspective to look backwards enough to look forwards. And in preparing this presentation, before we really get into the amenities and features and focuses of what surveys are saying that home buyers really want these days, I thought it'd be really great to put it into perspective with just one view, one demographic view of the total United States population in terms of age trends. So I'm going to show you this chart in one version, and we'll show it again with color to kind of make the point. But to kind of explain this to you, the format of it, on the left side here we have population by age groups. And what we've done is we've taken kind of the data that we usually get, and we've tried to create strata of kind of the early years of 0 to 4, and then after that create kind of rows that show each 10-year increment up to 85, and then it's 85 and over. Trying to show the population in the 2000 census as a historical point, the current data that we've been working on that's about to be updated for 2014, 2013, and what's projected for 2018. So we have total population, then it's broken down by ages, and then we got the percent by age all over there. And what we've done in this last column is where we've added our calculations to really just do the math. What's the difference between 2000 and 2018, the total that changes, the total change, and then by each age group, and then what's that percent change average compared to all others. So for this chart, I wanted to set it up so you can see it, understand it, before we kind of begin to delve into it and explain what we're seeing. So for now, the takeaway is between 2,281 and what's projected in the future, 2018, 325 million. That's a change of 43 million. 13.49% change totally. And then we got it broken down here. In this next chart we're going to look at, we've added a couple of colors to it. And this will help us organize this into groups. And again, this is the lead up for a lot of information about what is being learned about home buyers' preferences these days. If we have that total population change from 2000 to what the 2018 projection, again the total United States of being that amount, 13.49%, what I decided to do in looking at this, trying to understand it, we got it layered by the 10 years, every 10 years here, is say, okay, by age group, what is the percentage change? And if you look at this, what we've done is we said, okay, which changes in age groups are below the total average and which are above? And lo and behold, everything between below 54 to 0 is below average, and everything above 55 is above average. Isn't that telling? So what we're in the midst of is what we've been talking about for years as far as the boomer generation moving through the market, really having moved to the ages of maturation, plus we have in the 70s and 80s life expectancies increasing. So we really have this push toward the senior ages. Now, it is very, very important that to understand that we're just showing you one slice here, and in no way is this conclusive or suggestive in any way that since this is where the above average growth is, this is where we need to have all our housing focus on for the above 50. Nope, that's not it at all. This is a consequence primarily of age migration, boomers getting older, moving into these age groups, life expectancies living longer as far as this factor. Total growth, some is that, and the others kind of surges in migration that we had over the number of years to create that. If I did introduce one thing to kind of prevent any simplification of concluding that this is where the interest in housing should be because of that. It is an area of interest. Probably what the most realistic way to look at this is that most of the people in these age groups have simply age migrated from earlier ages. They moved out of housing that was primarily built for them when they were in their 30s and 40s and 50s. Something to keep in mind in terms of just the complexity of what we're dealing with. I'd say of most interest in this is if you look at the ages 35 to 44 and see the decreasing. Now this is the if this is the evidence of the baby boom kind of moving forward in age migration, what you're seeing in these low numbers, negative numbers, is kind of evidence of kind of the baby bust moving through here. One way I'd look at it, if you're kind of wanting to apply this to yourself, if you're in this age group, a lot of big houses out there on the market that were built for the boomers they were moving through that are waiting for you. Certainly we can align. One thing to say, there's probably an oversupply of homes that were built in the past for those. Oversupply quantitatively, but what we're going to see is so many things in terms of choices have changed that is not a conclusion either. We're going to move now to our main subject of what homebuyers really want. And I know this is the only slide we have, but that is just words. But I want to make sure we read it and cite correctly and give credit to the source of a lot of the materials we're about to show you. Last year at the National Association of Home Builders, we were able to see and view and then buy the results of what homebuyers really want survey. It's released last year, and the result of a couple of years of research, several years of research. It reveals current insights for amenities that range from continuing popularity of some features to striking changes in some previous preferences. Now the word amenities in some cases can be just what the social type lifestyle features are of a community, or they can also be related to features within homes in a broader sense. The word use of amenities in this case that we're going to show you is really that broader sense. It's not only the community, it is also the home features, so we're going to be showing you those things. What's important to understand is homebuyers' most preferred amenities have often been underemphasized by developers, and developers' signature and emphasized amenities may have become, in some cases, the most undesirable aspects of community homes for homebuyers. Change has happened, and we're going to see that. Part of what we'll also see is that preferences may have been more baked in than we believed for homebuyers. It's just the rising tide of all real estate allowed a lot of signature type of amenities that were important to developers that were presumed equally important to buyers to kind of get along and move up and flourish, but now we're seeing that many of those have become undesirable. Changing demographics, social preferences, and recently conditioned financial and real estate cautions are very compelling in this information. Now we're happy to show you a sampling of charts from the What Homebuyers Really Want survey. The first one is home pricing. And we're going to go through a number of charts like this where we got a nice chart or graph to show you. And a little summary. Again, this will be available online for you to reflect back on later. But what's most interesting in this is we could see a 2004 to 2007 kind of an expected price, desired price rise. This is across the board, and now seeing a moderation or a less interest in paying more coming back, kind of moving the other direction. And what you're going to see here is a lot of things that are kind of from a point in time till now. And this particular one essentially shows that regardless of the size of lot, that the square footage, the size of your lot has decreased. We're willing to accept a smaller type of home site. Prices that home buyers expect to pay. Energy efficiency, which has a return on investment, seems to be the characteristic with the most influence on home price that home buyers expect to pay for a home. Compared with ease of maintenance, energy efficient, and better insulated, whatever you get to be payback on energy is there. What do home buyers focus on as far as a a number of soft features, quality, appearance features, warranty, price for upgrades, the brand name, it's quality. I find this most interesting because this certainly does, in many of the markets that we're in that have both a combination of major brand builders and smaller builders, quality can be a differentiation and actually look here to be more important than perhaps a well-established larger brand name. Specialty rooms, here we're showing a number of different types of rooms, and of those, regardless of the price point, home office is the one that appeals to home buyers the most, especially in the higher, prices above $150,000. This is very interesting. Now, all these have great appeal, but a little bit back to a world of practicality and folks doing more in their home office, and the usage of that, I think, word broadening. What I would say is that when we see something that begins to lead a category like home office, which can mean a number of different things, that allows us to kind of examine the opportunity of how can we broaden the description of that and create interest and excitement in that office. Silly analogy is kitchen. Way back when, the kitchen's so utilitarian, and now it's not. It gets the cooking done, has the family gathering, but has so many other things in it. And we're suggesting that same type of detailed look application be utilized for home offices also. For age groups that are 35 to 54, kind of that family age group that appeal the most are the media room and the game room. In terms of how people want to pay for amenities, those shown in the base price option, it's just across the board for all price points, whether it's in the prices or options. It's hard, no really way to tell a preference there. However, the preference is for amenities to be included in base price in higher priced homes. In other words, the higher the price goes, the more expectation is for those to be in there, and the less interest in kind of feeling like you're getting dinged because there's a surprise for an amenity that was not revealed. Certainly a surging area, and what we think is kind of the next system in the house, plumbing, electric, HVAC, all those things, making way for technology, and you see the whole technology aspects going in houses. This is a very dynamic area, changing, going to be settling down, but anything that has most items that have a technological feature are laid out on this kind of massive chart, and you're able to look at them. I'd say that the takeaway, instead of really trying to differentiate between what is most popular, what's not, what people would like to have, is just the surge and the whole approach to housing in an amenity, in the broadest sense of featured amenity, being one that technology is certainly the one that's the greatest, that has the greatest rising in popularity right now. Choosing a bigger home versus more amenities, a lot of information here. Instead of going into that, I'd say that it is a choice that we are certainly beginning to see people making. Let's just say in the past it may have been space. When things got really good, it may have been we want them both, and now I think we want all the space as well as the amenities. I think there are a number of things that are saying that depending on need and desire, it's a very personalized choice whether someone wants the features that amenities bring or greater space. One thing that's always interesting is this idea of the living room becoming obsolete. I think that rooms have all sorts of more usages, and while the room that's called the living room may not be the dormant stand by itself, never used type room that it may have been in the past for formal type occasions, I think there is a reluctance to not having, although the significant number, that 35% of all homeless are okay without a living room. I think that the absence of something called a living room that can be seen as a living room is a problem for still about 2/3 of home buyers. Environmental concerns, majority of home buyers do consider environmental impact as part of their buying decision. That's the majority. But it begins to kind of dwindle out that if not something that has a payback or a return, that while that number is increasing, that more people are concerned about this. This information shows still a small percent. It's very interesting to kind of separate the talk from the reality. So much talk about green, all those things, and the popularization of that. But I think that it's a decision in many home buyers' minds that they're not quite settled on, and I think part of it's the understanding of what this really is, and also maybe the perception that is probably getting outdated, that to have environmentally friendly homes has a significant greater cost impact to it. I think so many things have happened in the last several years that has certainly changed. Now we're going to get into some very interesting information as far as amenities, whether they're desirable or essential for folks versus what is, next slide, what's not desirable. So this particular chart looks at a number of things. We're going to focus on golf course and gated communities in terms of these things having positive desirability. This slide here, this bar on the graphic shows you the number of people that are interested in a gated community, those that desire a golf course community. And it's interesting how this kind of declines. Now, what we found most interesting in a lot of research that we did this last year is that asking the question a different way in terms of what's desirable for you, then the other hand is what is undesirable. And this is where we begin to really get into what we feel like is the meaning of what is the new happiness, and some of the things that we associated with that in the past. We have to be careful and really understand that times have changed, demographics changed, economics have changed. And when you ask the question of what are the features in the development that are not wanted by you, the 66% answered that it's undesirable for me to live in a golf course community. 48% gated community. And those are kind of the two traditional, historical, languishing, most prestigious aspects of a new home community. If we look at the same question in terms of golf course community and gated community, what you begin to see is that there is an association, and it's probably social and realistic also in terms of what's affordable and kind of the social environment of the desirability or lack of desirability for do not want to live in a golf course community, and the lower the price point, the lower the income, the more undesirable. But even so, above the $150,000 price point, you still over half the households saying that golf community is not desirable for me, and almost a third of the respondents in those higher income ranges saying that gated community is not of interest to me also. So you have to go through those kind of major categories and say what are then the areas that people rate as the most positive amenities. The highest amenity rankings include walking and jogging trails, park area, outdoor swimming pool, lake, and exercise room. So what does this tell us? Well, when you look at this, you see a strong preference for one that are health-related activities. That's one. Now, whether you take advantage of all those or not, they are aspirational qualities that are pretty much universal to everyone. So the second part of this, they're health-related activities that are equally accessible socially or individually. They are non-exclusive nor class restrictive, and they're appealing for all generations. So if you'd like to say, okay, there's lots of slides here, and what's the real summary of what is the new happiness? What do people really want? I'd suggest you kind of cut this out, look at this descending here, walking, jogging, park, swimming pool, lake, exercise room, and consider our interpretation. Now, that is not saying that the niches for golf communities, gated communities, all those things, they're still very, very applicable in the appropriate market segments. But if you want to say where's the biggest interest across the board, look at this. And this is the reality check. Now this also relates to a lot of fee things and expectations and some of the things with, let's say it's the major golf course or whatever. There's a lot of unspoken fear about a golf course not being able to sustain itself, people not playing it. I don't play, they're where I left out. But that's it. That's that slide right there. At the beginning, we talked about a lot of change, and we also mentioned the issues of kind of the developer-driven signature type preferences that we'll see in a lot of spectacular communities. And I would say that when you look at this chart, what you're going to see is really an enduring historical preference. The same thing here from 04, 07 to 2012. It's not that significant of a change. You can see things anchoring in, focusing in for the walking jogging trails as far as they are increasing in significance, but they've been at the top. I think that what we're seeing is that the ones that may be learning the most are probably us on this webcast right now from the industry, that in the midst of a more realistic, more just normal type living conditions of our living in our homes longer, of our really selecting where we live with care and consideration, that this is something that the developers and builders amongst us really need to pay attention to these things going forward. And at any other time in the past, to really understand what makes us happy, what is our new happiness. We're going to now shift to a little bit of information about the city of Mount Vernon. And what we're trying to tell you here in the short message of this is that in our studies we've identified what we think is a strong opportunity for residential development and home building in the city of Mount Vernon. And we're going to introduce you to a little information about Mount Vernon right now. As I showed you on the map earlier, there's Mount Vernon. You can come up from the south or across from there or over from St. Louis, kind of the convergence of just an incredible transportation network. The city is well funded, very, very positive city community leadership, wonderful arts community, and increasing in employment. Say it again, and increasing in employment. So jobs are going to Mount Vernon. City of Mount Vernon approached us a couple of years ago with the fact that we're well funded, we have great leadership, look at all the development we have here, new schools, new hospitals, new employment moving in, and the housing boom kind of missed us. So with that in mind, we've taken on helping them identify where the opportunities are and now beginning to communicate that through marketing, of which this program is part of that, and we hope you like it. A few slides about the city of Mount Vernon, and what we've done is we've taken the Mount Vernon, Illinois kind of city center and looked at a 35-mile radius around that. Population of a couple hundred thousand, had been a little bit population slippage in the area. What's interesting in terms of the rising employment, we've recognized that you look at, okay, if employment numbers are going up and the population slipping, one of the needs that we've identified, that's an initial indicator in terms of need for housing, so people don't have to drive so far. We look at that are driving beyond that 35-mile ring. The alignment of the number of households and those that are 1- and 2-person households compared to 3 and larger, this is consistent with what we're seeing kind of in all the areas that the majority of households are 1-person and 2-person households. The income by households, estimated household income, it is going up based on the employment factors talked about. Right now the average household income is just a little under $50,000. Has a large number of households as 68. We're typically seeing between 65 and 70% of households throughout the South and Midwest that have no one under the age of 18, and about a third that still have children under age 18. The average travel time to work, we're seeing a pretty significant amount that are driving 45 and beyond that, over half hour. And you begin to see this in an area that roads are pretty clear, doesn't take on a lot of traffic congestion, you begin to see that the people are driving a significant amount of distance. Another credibility factor, indicator of opportunity for housing close by. Strong presence of owner-occupied housing compared to rental. Very, and remarkably long-term residency in the owner-occupied homes. Now, this is a very positive indication of stability. It's also an indication of the lack of new homes that people have had choices to move into. And the striking part of this, if you look at the years that the homes were built, in many of our other markets, we're seeing 15 to 20% of the homes that have been built since 2000. Here it's just barely 8%, with kind of the last surge in home building being in the 80s and 90s, but the strongest amount in the 70s. The kind of the dominant year the structures are built were 1930 and below. That's the largest percentage of homes that are built in the 1930s. Evidence in itself that even in a community that did not have the attributes that I mentioned, has oddly had the past home building boom miss it. That's a real benefit for someone considering developing and building in Mount Vernon, because you don't have that crazy type of inventory you have to compete against. Nothing was built to the extent that it had the ability to become distressed. We're going to begin to wrap up this webinar now, this webcast, and thank you for attending. Again, you have received this invitation, hopefully, from both City of Mount Vernon and Zanola. What we've just done for you, presented today, is part one of what's going to be at least a two-part series of what is the new happiness. Today we talked about insights into amenities, little demographic facts. Our next one will be on February 11th, and that will be the week following the International Builder Show, at which we'll be gathering a lot of information, perhaps some updates on what we just showed you, but really also trying to dial into specifics of homes and neighborhoods that fulfill those desires that we were just showing you earlier in terms of where the trends are. So in that one, we hope to show you some specifics of homes and neighborhoods that really exemplify and exhibit what home buyers are looking for in their forever home, in their next home, and be able to show you specific examples of those. Again, please visit buildmountVernonIllinois.com to see all the exciting work that's going on there for the Mount Vernon Strategic Housing Program. And we'd really appreciate your input. We looked at a lot of things, and before we really began this marketing that we're doing now, we tried to make sure we had all the pieces and parts in place that when someone approached Mount Vernon for just the information gathering and the process of developing or building, that they found it extremely friendly and understanding of the development and building community in a way that communicated to developers and builders. The City of Mount Vernon is just serious about having you build and develop in their community. That concludes our presentation, What is the New Happiness? We'll learn what homebuyers really want. Again, it's part one. We hope that you'll sign up for part two in the week after next. If you'd like more information, you can contact me or Rachel Ballard at this address here. Likewise, if you'd like some more information about the City of Mount Vernon and building and developing there, this is Nathan McKenna's, the projects manager and zoning official for the City of Mount Vernon, who's just a great contact for you to reach out to and gather more information. With that, this is Joe Zanola signing off and thanking you very much for your interest and your participation in today's webcast. And we are so appreciative of your being here today. Stay warm, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.